And hey, everybody, welcome to the House 6 podcast, our movie podcast about movies. And we are continuing our journey through all the best picture winners for Oscar. And we've come to the 14th winner for Best Picture. Hal Green was My Valley from 1941. I always ask, what was your 3-word summation for the movies? What do you got for me this time?
Just
Crap! I didn't do my homework.
I'm just saying the confused child.
The confused child. Okay, Jared.
Punch a teacher.
Punch teacher. Got it. Thomas, anything come to mind?
The singing coal miners. Singing coal miners.
Coal
there we go.
Meese.
I was gonna say more like how dark was
That's not 3 words.
It's true. It's black and white. There's no green in this movie.
my word. All right, so a little background on the awards. The 14th Academy Awards were held at the Los Angeles Biltmore Hotel on February 26, 1942, after nearly being canceled due to the attack on Pearl Harbor. The show was hosted by Bob Hope and partially broadcasted on CBS radio stations. The ceremony would be remembered as the one Citizen Kane lost. Best Picture, nominated 9 times. The film would only win once for Best Screenplay. Other nominees include the noir classic The Maltese Falcon, the Hitchcock thriller Suspicion, and Sergeant York with 11 nominations, the most of the night.
Good movie.
The Little Foxes set a record for most nominations without a win at 9. Gary Cooper beat out Cary Grant and Orson Welles for Best Actor. Our leading actress from last episode, Joan Fontaine, beat out her sister, Olivia de Havilland, for Best Actress. Animated short, Linda Paw, starring Pluto and Figaro, beat out Superman, which is often considered one of the greatest cartoons ever made.
Is that the one where he's punching the thing?
The lasers.
Yeah. That's so cool.
It's kind of crazy that animation is almost 100 years old, and it looks better than most animations nowadays.
It's in the Cape Crusader.
Yeah.
2 war films were given the first awards for Best Documentary, and that would become its own category starting the following year. All right, so the movie Hal Green Was My Valley from 20th Century Fox was directed by John Ford, who joined Frank Capra as the first 2 directors to win 3 Oscars for Best Director and was the first to win in back-to-back years. The film stars a very young Roddy McDowall, who you might have heard in the Batman animated series as the Mad Hatter. The 2-time nominee Walter Pidgeon, Maureen O'Hara, who in Anna Lee, and Donald Crisp, who would win for Best Supporting Actor. O'Hara has been called one of the best actors to never be nominated for an Oscar. The film was based on a novel by Richard Llewellyn. Unable to film the movie in Wales because of the war, the film was shot in the Santa Monica Mountains near Malibu, California. Rhys Williams.
Looks much like Wales.
Rhys Williams, who plays the boxer, was originally the narrator for the film, but was replaced right before the release of the movie to avoid confusion. The film is still well regarded and is a favorite of actor Clint Eastwood. However, it has been criticized in the UK for the actors' accents, which sounded a little more Irish, I think.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to go like folksy Irish person.
In Welsh, I think Welsh is hard to do though.
Welsh is weird. Like even like Welsh people go like, yeah, it's an odd accent because it's
when Mahler talks about it, he's like, you don't know what the Welsh accent is. If I used it, you guys would hate.
And then they got their own words, and it's like weird.
I love Little Platoon's like thing on the Welsh. She's like, they try to teach me Welsh, but I don't listen to the Concord, so I don't care. I'm like, oh my god.
All right, so getting to the actors who we usually start with, there's a lot of lead actors, I guess, in this movie because Walter Pidgeon's character, the priest, is like he's the main love interest. Then you got the kid who's pretty much a main actor. Like we see everything from his point of view. and then the dad, of course, is a
The moral compass of the
yeah.
family.
And then we got a bunch of sons, right? They have like 5 sons,
One daughter, that poor
one
girl.
daughter, yeah, and a daughter-in-law. So, which actor stood out for you in this movie? Like, who did you latch onto?
Who is you?
Anyone?
Definitely the dad, I think, is probably the best, like in just in my opinion. But I really liked O'Hara in this, and I've never seen her this young, which is kind of crazy. The first movie I ever saw her in was Big Jake, and she was like almost in her 50s at that point, I think. And like it was kind of a shocker to see her that young, but she did really good. But I actually like the kid, the guy that played or the kid that played Hugh. I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, I feel like the only ones you named are the only ones that had character at all, in my opinion. Like everyone else, I felt like was so bland, and Billboard is like, this is what we need at this point. All of you are going to be the same person. There's just a
I was gonna
lot of you.
say the sons kind of blended together.
Yeah,
I was
I
like-
did not name
Like
any of the sons.
you're one of them. Yeah.
Especially when they like all went off to like go make their fortunes. Like they all went off. I'm just like, who are you?
Which one's so? I will say that
I didn't
the other.
know which one was married.
Ivor.
I don't know which one Ivor is. But I will say the other actor that I did enjoy was the not the creepy church guy, but the other church guy that made the speech or whatever to everyone. I have no idea what his name is, but that guy was at least had some character to him. Everyone else, I was just like, you're all just copies of each. Like all the brothers, I'm like, there's no way I could pick you up at a lineup because you're all the same person.
I thought the mom was kind of funny.
Yeah, she was good.
Her speech at the little meeting top was pretty
She
cool.
told him, though. I'm like, you don't need to make her have her fall. There's no need for that.
Well, no,
Not off the cliff, but like that just into the snow there.
I thought that was an honest moment where she's just flustered. But I did like that. It's like anything happens to my husband, I will kill you with my bare
brutal.
hands. I was like, oh my god.
Jared, any characters stand out for you?
I really like Hugh. I thought he was the most like reasonable and like put together. one out of all.
Reasonable. We'll talk
Yeah.
about you in a minute.
What about the boxer, Jared?
No, I didn't really care for him.
Aw.
Hated the
And then I
boxer.
liked the preacher dude. He was pretty cool.
Yeah. I
And
liked
then
his character.
I like the creepy church guy. He was evil. Like
He was
He's
very
super evil.
grimy.
His teeth kind of freaked me out a little bit. Like they like kind of like reached out of his mouth. I was just like,
Mhm.
he would pour his coffee into that saucer and then drink it that way. I was like,
Yeah.
I know
"What?"
that was
Why?
weird.
why? Why?
Like a demon
Um,
deacon.
But yeah, I like the mom as well. She was very motherly.
All right, let's get into the movie. So 20th Century Fox logo. And then we get during the credits, it calls the actor who plays Hugh, Roddy McDowell, it calls him Master Roddy McDowell. Usually they like when there's a kid, they say introducing, but he's a master. So it starts out and he's reminiscing, he's old, he says he has 50 years of memory and he is leaving the valley. And he's talking about how it's different than it was. It used to
Does
be all
that
green.
mean
and
he's
nice.
50 or does that mean he just
Yeah, I think
has
he's 50.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
Unless he's not counting those years he can't remember.
Where you got punched.
He was saying it was green, but now it's all like blackened with the coal mines and stuff like that. People are singing hell. Oh, when he's on the hill and he sees I think it's his sister, right? And he's like, they start singing hello to each other, like hello. I thought that was,
Or what was it? Angharan.
yeah,
Dude, when this started, I was like, I hate this.
yeah. The first hour was a little rough.
I like the first hour. Makes me happy. And then
So
it
we
gets
get-
sad.
We get a lot of coal miners. And someone says there was singing in my people because they were happy back then. It was a happy time, and the coal miners would like sing to, yeah, they're sing home from work.
Dude. No
Non-
spoil. I don't want to spoil, but I'm glad they cut the wages because all that singing was annoying.
Whoa!
Dang. Jared would definitely cross the picket line. He is
Oh, Thomas froze for a second.
I did.
Did you say he was a scab or something?
Yeah, he's a scab.
Okay. So we see that they sing home, and then they get a bath, and then they get a dinner, and then they all put their money in the little money jar to share, right?
Well, first they had to put it in the money apron.
Yeah, and then she transfers it. The kid goes for some sweetbreads, and this lady who looks like a pilgrim gives him some sweetbreads. He's like, "Here, have that."
Oh, you mean the
and-
witch lady? I thought it was a
That-
candy shop.
It was a candy shop. He got
was it?
It was
I
like
thought that's
taffy,
where-
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I was like,
it was toffee, but
It
definitely
would
that.
last for years, he said, in your mouth.
Yeah, but I have to admit, I think that woman definitely cooked some kids in her oven.
yeah. So I'm like, she's just cosplaying Harry Potter
Yeah,
dozens of years before it even was written.
we definitely know where Hansel and Gretel went.
It's like, what the heck? Just a little pointed hat. She comes out with the
What's that
birds.
screaming in the kitchen, ma'am? Nothing. Don't worry about that. Take
don't
your
I thought she
coffee
was
and
a-
leave.
I
don't
thought
worry.
she was a pilgrim.
Don't, don't worry about it, sweetie. Just take the toffee and go.
And that's where he gets his first look at Brownwyn.
Bronwyn,
Yeah, he gets his
which is a
first,
pretty cool name. I'm
That's a
not
great
gonna
name.
lie.
and he is a child in love, man. He's just like, whoa.
What a babe.
Yeah. But she's there to get married to his brother, and they have a wedding. And the wedding is done by the new minister, Mr. Griffiths, who comes into town. And that's like the first time the kids even seen the guy. And they do the throwing of the rice, and he really winds up and throws that rice at her, man.
Well, I'm sorry. Did you see the Oompa Loompa guys dancing on the stairs as they're walking down from the church? They're just like they're all like they're like holding hands. They're going like this. Like, oh, there's like hundreds of them. I'm like, what's going on?
What do you get to when you felt the?
So he kind of catches the eye of Hugh's sister, and he's like, "Whoa,
What was the sister's name, Joseph?
I don't remember what."
Angharan.
Oh yeah, the weird name.
Definitely some Welsh names going around here.
They
Oh, and-
almost. Oh, go ahead.
None of you watched this with subtitles, right?
I did. I had to.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
did you notice like all the spellings of the names? Like Hugh is WHU.
Weird.
It was W or HUW.
Is it HUW? Sorry,
Mhm.
my bad. But yeah, I just love how
Weird.
these are spelled.
They almost dropped the cake, and they laugh because it's funny. They almost dropped that cake. But then stuff starts to go downhill. Reduced pay. Because they have a lot of people wanting to work, so they don't really need to pay anyone. And they get the real reason. So they confront the dad, and they're like, the real reason is this, right? That they got so many people wanting to work that they don't need to pay good. And the dad kind of sticks up for ownership. He's like, the owners are not savages. And
They are men like us.
yeah. So the brother,
I like the sons. I will not be silent. I will speak against injustice.
I did like the father because like, oh, that's what Joseph would be like as a dad. He's like, I don't
Yeah.
want to hear this socialist talk in my
I know,
own.
I was with that guy.
Only speak when spoken to.
You were not given permission to speak.
And then
So
they
they're
all
like-
leave, and then Hugh's like, he's like, I know you're there, child. I know
I'm here,
you're
Daddy.
Oh, yeah, that was funny. So the dad's like, we need power. Like they have the power, we don't have the power. Where do we get the power? And they say the dreaded word, union power. Da, da, da. So he's like, I don't want to hear any of this socialist nonsense, guys. And Jared said, one of the brothers like, this isn't too important for silence because I will not be silent. And the dad responds by, it's not more important than manners. So then there is talk of a strike, and the brothers are like, we're going to strike. The dad is not happy at all. And he's like, leave this table. I don't want to hear, politics at the table. So leave the table. And they're like, well, we'll leave the house. And they're, oh. So they take off and they're like, oh, we know a place to stay. So he is left alone. The men have struck for 22 weeks. They strike. The dad is not popular because he kind of like he's the head of the union, right? Or the
Well, he's like the I guess he's like the speaker for like the workers or whatever.
yeah,
So
he's like the head.
I guess he's like middle management pretty much.
So now everyone hates him, even though
Throwing bricks in his house.
he didn't want to be in the union. They throw a rock. The brothers, they see that and they like run over there and they like he gives them this real soft punch, but the guy like dies, man. He like dies on the ground. So we get Hugh talking to his mom, and they're having a meeting, and he's like, that's not a place for a woman. And she's like, this place for this woman. And so she's gonna go to the meeting, and we get that speech she gives, and she's like, I'll kill the man who harms him. And the next scene was confusing for me because I thought it was two kids drowning, but it's Hugh and his mom. Like I don't know why I didn't see her, but it didn't look like a woman to me. So they pull a George Bailey and fall in the lake, and then a bunch of guys come and pull them out, but they are badly ill from this. They're both like paralyzed. They can't walk. They're stuck in bed. The drunk doctor comes, and he's like, "What are you breeding horses here? This kid should be dead." He's like, he's got the genes, man. What's their last name again? Morgan. He's got the Morgan genes.
The Morgan genes.
Yeah.
I did like when they all lined up for pay. Morgan. 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 All right, there's all the Morgans.
Stop having kids. So the preacher comes and he tells the kid to have faith that he will walk again. And it's going to take a little bit of time.
That doctor was drunk as all get out.
He was a drunk doctor. Meanwhile, he can't hide his love for the sister. She's like, if you would have me, I would give you. And he's like, tappings. I don't remember what tappings is, but it's spring, and he sees some birds, and the mom is able to walk downstairs. Oh, tappings that's how the mom.
they were talking.
Oh, they're communicating. Okay.
I thought that was kind of cute.
I will say that doctor had a pretty cool coat, though. The one he put on, he's like, "Put it on me."
It wasn't Carhartt. How do you thought it was cool?
Yeah, Carhartt was around then.
The
working man.
The mom's the first to get out of bed. She walks downstairs. The boys are back in town. They come to see their mom, and everyone's happy. She's like, "Come in for dinner." So they all, I don't know how they fit like the whole town into this house, but they do. And everyone's eating.
They've got like a basement down there too. It's huge.
This is where that psychopath pours his coffee into the saucer.
That was weird. He's talking to the brother, and the brother's like, I've been busy with union. He's like, why haven't you been to chapel? So I've been busy with the union. And they're like, oh, they're good about the fight. The preacher says, have your union. It's fine. That doesn't make the deacon very happy.
The pastor guy gets the whole Spider-Man quote wrong. He's like, with a lot of power comes a lot of responsibility. I was like, you fool. That's not how it goes.
With heaps and heaps of power.
Jared, they had to rewrite it. We've heard it every other way. So
he's helping the sister in the kitchen, and she's like, oh, your hands are so strong. And he's like, and she's like, the right is mine. When he's talking about, I don't have the right to ask you to be my wife. And it's back to work with everyone.
That was a sad scene with Langharin and the preacher. It was kind of sad.
Was it sad?
Because he basically told her that he can't propose
I know,
to her.
but it wasn't that sad. It's more romantic, I guess.
Oh, I thought it was sad.
It was kind of sad because he's like, I can't marry you. I got no money. So they go back to work, but there's not enough jobs for everyone. So two of their sons have to leave and they go to America, the land of opportunity.
Welcome.
And because the dad's talking to him, he's like, well, let's not mention this to your mom yet. And she's all, I heard. And she's all sad that they're leaving. And he's like, I won't leave you, mom. Is that the one where she's like something about having babies? And he's like, why did you have babies?
Yeah.
And they all start laughing.
Because I liked it.
Because your dad is an animal.
There's no preventative med stuff
Ooh.
here.
Cannot be
So-
satisfied.
A little good news is the choir has been given the job to sing before the queen, and everyone's like, yeah, this is the best thing to happen to this village. But before they can go, the queen gets ill, right? And instead of singing to the queen, they have to say, God save the queen, because they don't want her to die. So next we get Hugh. The preacher takes Hugh up to the hill. It's all nice. And he's like, you can walk, man. And he's like, no, I can't. He's like, do it, man. Do it. Walk. And so Hugh walks.
He's like, walk, you little.
They have a meeting of the deacons. So this is the first meeting of the deacons. And there's a woman there who has to pay for her sins because she had a child out of wedlock, and they are going to condemn her. And this doesn't make the sister happy because she's like, you are a bunch of hypocrites, and I hate you all. So yeah, that little scene happens.
Do you think one of the deacons got her pregnant?
I don't know.
I mean, that's what I got when she was like, "You're a bunch of hypocrites." So
I guess they sleep around or something. She's saying. There's this weird scene where they're giving Hugh like a massage, and he's like,
Oh, yeah.
woman, I'm a man now. Get out of here. And she's like, oh yeah, and she spanks him right in the butt. Mr. Evans, I guess they call him, is the
Evans.
boss. He's the mine owner, and he comes for a visit. And he's like, I want permission for my son to call on your daughter. Kind of weird. You gotta get your dad to.
Okay,
Get you a
Old
date.
fashioned.
that's the
Yeah.
old-fashioned way.
The dad's like, he's washing his feet. He's not prepared for this at all. He's like, get my shoes, woman. Yeah, so the son, he's like, I want to talk to your daughter, and he gives him permission. This doesn't make her happy because she don't want to marry this guy. So she runs to the preacher. And he's like, you shouldn't be here in my little shack. And she's like, why am I a stranger to you? And he's like, you got to go marry that guy. And she's like, I don't want him. I want you. And they kiss, but it's a kiss goodbye. And she gets married. There's another wedding. And this time, they don't really feel like singing because they're not
Are
very,
you going to sing for my daughter's wedding? Oh,
not
yeah, I
very
guess.
romantic.
That man was wearing a very plaid suit, by the way. Like the one that the dad was talking to is like it was plaid on plaid on plaid.
And
It's like,
he
whoa.
pulled it off.
He did.
He pulled it off. I was like, wow.
We find out that Hugh is pretty good at school. He's getting a math lesson from the preacher. And the dad's like there helping him, and the mom's like, he don't need math. What does he need with math? And he's like,
Water in a bathtub full of holes.
It's like it's a mental exercise.
It makes no
What?
sense.
And the dad's like, what's next? And he's like, we're gonna tackle the decimal. And he's like, oh no. So we'll do that later. So Hugh gets to go to school because he can walk and he's pretty smart. So they send him to school, and he goes to the new school, and he walks in, and everyone looks at him, and the teacher's a big old jerk.
It's like the teacher from Willy Wonka, the
Yeah.
same kind of guy. He's like,
With
look at
more
this poor
abuse."
boy.
You got mud
like-
on your shoes.
It's like, where are you from? And then he like says like the most Welsh like name ever. He's just
Uh-huh.
like, what? What do you mean you're from there? Ah.
I like you. They were clean when I left.
Because you gotta like walk over a mountain to get to school. makes him sit in like the
He's-
dunce chair.
He is the original word, like when your parents are like, you know what I had to do to go to school?
He was
Like,
that guy.
He was that guy.
The kids break his pencil. He's got this fancy pencil box, and the kids break it. And he's like, "Hey, that's my box!" And they fight. And he gets his butt kicked. He walks home. He's all
He
battered.
did not take a beating. He got a little scuff, but he did not take a beating.
He was in a fight. He fought.
The brother's like, "What? Who are you fighting? Who fought you?" And he's like, "I fell on the mountain." That made me laugh. And the dad's like, "I'm gonna pay you every time you come home with like a bruise and stuff. Every time you get in a fight, we'll give you some money." And he's like, he calls Dai Bando. "Get over here, Dai Bando." Dai Bando is a boxer, and they put him in training. Right, he's gonna make a prize fighter. out of him.
Queensberry rules.
Yep. And they fight, and he goes back to school. He fights, but the teacher breaks it up, and he starts lashing him. And
I'm proud of the other kid. He got his butt kicked, and he's like, "I'll stay with your spanking."
and the little girl's here, bite this.
Well, I did like that. He's like, bend over so you can,
I refuse.
I was like, I refuse. Like, yeah, that's a friend for life right there. That's awesome.
So he comes out all crippled, like comes home like barely walk. He's hunched over, and they're like, "Who did this to you?" And he's like, "It was Mr. Jonas," and he doesn't want him to go confront him. And
We'll kill him. No,
we'll take care of Mr. Jonas.
I did like that from the brothers. Like, say the word, and he'll disappear. It's like,
So Dai Bando, he goes to the school to confront him, and he's like, "I'm going to give you a boxing lesson." He just like kind of slaps the guy around. And the guy looks like he's dead.
Dude, his eyes are like rolled in the back.
I thought he was dead for a second. I'd be like, okay, well, class is over, kids. Let's shuffle you. And I thought it was weird they did that in front of all the kids too. It's like,
well, I did like the assistant's like, well, he just won't make a good boxer, I guess.
Yeah.
No talent for it.
So after that bit of fun, back to the heartbreak is the death of the first son, right? Ivor. Death, and so he dies, and that's the sister-in-law's husband, so she doesn't have a husband anymore. At the same time, they get their first grandson, so she gives birth to.
Okay, she did not look pregnant, by the way. Like,
She hit it well.
like that was a very skinny pregnant woman. I was like, what?
Yeah, so Hugh comes back from school. He's got great grades. Our son is a scholar, they say. Let's give him some. You get the bread, you get the sweetbreads. And he's like, "I want to eat my bread with Broadway." And they're like, "Whoa."
She's like, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't do that.
She's kind of like slides out of frame too, like,
And he's like, "Dang it. Would you be mine?" He's pretty much proposing to this woman. He's like, "I'll take care of you.
Set my clothes out every morning.
I'm gonna make some money and I'll take care of you." 2 more Morgans are discharged and they have to leave the country.
That was sad. Like that kind of hit me. I was like, dang, that sucks. Like right when they get paid, discharge, Morgan, discharge.
Yeah, I forgot a part, but there's a part where the kid, they're like, "Hey, you want to be a doctor? You want to be a lawyer?" He's like, "No, I choose to work in the mines." And the dad's like, "I'm going to go get drunk because this is terrible."
You're an idiot. I've raised a fool.
I know. But yeah, he wants to make money for that woman. So the sister comes home and she's not happy, and everyone can tell. And the person her servant, is gossiping around town, and she's like whispers something, and they're like, "Oh, the Force." So it's a big scandal, right?
Been in the service for 37 years.
So everyone's talking about divorce. This makes it tough for Hugh because he's in the mine and there's kid miners and they fight.
Those are some tough kids, man.
Yeah.
Like this
Grew
kid
up in
is.
the mines.
But say this kid is literally the guy that your grandfather talked about that he claimed that he was. Like I worked for a nickel back in the day in the mines, boy.
In the mines.
They had to put Hugh in that card. He's like,
Oh yeah, liar.
Dude, Hugh smacked the crap out of that kid. Like when they're talking about his sister, he's like, bam.
Yeah, so they're the talk of the town. Even when he's walking home, the women are like laughing at him as he's walking home. And it's time for another deacon meeting. And the dad's like, I'm out of here. I'm not part of that church anymore if they decide what they're going to do.
Good on the dad. Good on the dad.
The mom's like, we're not going to that meeting. And Hugh's like, I'm going to that meeting. I'm going to
what
represent
a little man.
He's a little man. He's good. What do they always call him? A good old man.
Good lad.
Good old man.
Yeah. So he
Or
goes.
is it good old lad? Is that what he called?
Something like
Something
good old
like
man
that.
or something like that.
So he goes, and the preacher's there, and he's giving a speech. He's like, I tried to do my best, and you guys are just so stupid. You're not taking to any of the lessons. So I'm leaving the valley.
This scene reminded me of To Kill a Mockingbird, like Atticus's scene, like the court scene. I don't know why. It's just very similar vibes. So
Yeah, so he's gonna leave the valley, and
Not before he's like, Hugh, I thought I was going to rule the world when I was young.
Oh, yeah.
With the truth.
I thought I was going to command great armies like Alexander the Great.
So he writes, what's her name?
Angharad.
Yeah, he writes her a letter saying he's leaving. And he's like, I can't give it to her because if I see her again, I won't be able to leave. But it doesn't come to that because there's sirens wailing, right? And there's
See,
been
when that whistle blows, you're like, man. Yeah.
What next? So there's been a cave-in at the mine. The dad was working, and they all run to the mine, and they see everyone that they rescue, and they're coming out of the elevator, but no dad. So the preacher's like, all right, I need some guys. Let's go. The boxer can't even see anymore. He's gone blind, but he goes. Hugh goes, and some other brave guys go. So there's a rescue attempt. They go down
Like
there.
the oldest dudes. It wasn't even like young
Yeah.
men.
Except
They
for
took-
Hugh.
They took the blind boxer guy. So
Yeah, so they go down there, and Hugh sees his dad. He's like under a pile of rocks, and so he gets to say goodbye to his dad. And they bring him up, and Hugh's is just looking like a man now. He's lost his innocence, and the movie ends with some memories of how his valley, how green was my valley. So we get to see the good times, and that ends the movie. So. What did you guys think of the movie? Me and Jared always said that first hour was rough for us. So, Jared, did it ever get better for you?
Yeah, as soon as wages were cut and they were sad, I was like, great.
Got their
I like
vocal
the
cords
scene-
too.
The scenes I liked was when he was talking about getting sweets back in the day, the toffee scene. He's like, look, sticks in your teeth for hours and then you still taste it. And I was like, dang, that's some good toffee. And then I liked when he was going to school and he's just being a little man and he's just like, I'm not like getting into fights. I fell on the mountain. And he's like, don't beat up the teacher. I can do this.
no, don't kill the teacher.
And and then when he's like hitting on his brother's wife, I was like, dude, that's a little soon.
I
Can't be
know.
doing that.
She just became a widow.
Hey man, it's the Victorian era. If you don't shoot your shot, 10
I
years
guess-
later you're already dead. So
But
I guess that was biblical, right? Marrying your.
He has several other brothers to compete with, so he's got to get his
That's
first
true.
put in there.
it's true.
But
First,
he
first
did
come,
the-
first serve.
he did it right. He's like, I got to go to work now because I got to support a woman and a baby, and I'm a working man now. So he goes down to the mines.
Got his
And,
little lunchbox. And
Yeah, his little lunchbox, his little lantern. He looks like all beat up after work, going to his mom's like, "What's going on with the family?"
they
Dude,
like use them though, like
yeah, hold that spike.
Yeah.
I was just like, I hope they don't miss because
I know.
man,
I thought they were. I was like, oh.
But yeah, after that first hour, or just when the singing stopped, I was like, "This is fine." But that singing, dude, I was like, "I hate this."
even texted us. I hate this.
Almost immediately.
All right, Thomas, you said you liked this movie. So what did you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a John Ford movie. Not my favorite John. Like, I think it's like the least John Ford movie I've seen, honestly. Mostly because there's no cowboys. But
Mhm.
but no, I liked just like the rough and gruffness of it. It's kind of an interesting subject matter from when it was like the right at the peak of Victorian England. So like industrialization was about to take over like full spread and kind of get rid of like the rural working class, and just it's an interesting topic. I liked Hugh. I thought Hugh was probably like the most badass kid I've ever seen. Just, doesn't like something, so he works for it, and goes down to the mines so he can make some money. And he's a man. He's not a boy. He's a man. So I did like the little failed romance between Heron and the preacher. That was kind of sad.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like this one. So it's a solid story. I don't think it's like the greatest one that we've seen, but honestly, this is like this is 1940, right?
1941.
41. Okay. So we have the track record of 1930s. The second one that we watched in the 30s was Broadway Melody. This is the second one we've watched for the 40s. So already we are miles and miles ahead of where we were in the 30s. So the quality of the movie is definitely way better than what we've had. And so I do like that. I did think that's funny that this won out after or over Sergeant York and Citizen Kane. Sergeant York is one of my favorites. Like that movie's incredible. But I know Jared hates Citizen Kane, but
Overrated.
whatever. Michael, have you seen Citizen Kane yet?
I've never seen Citizen Kane. No,
Okay, you need to.
it's on the list. I just don't know.
Mm.
It's just like I don't know. When do you watch it? Like, I don't know. I know. Like what you hear about the movie, but I don't know. I don't know when to watch it.
It's a good movie, but anyway, I am shocked that this won over those two movies, because those movies are like, I hear people talk about those movies constantly. I don't really hear about How Green Was My Valley. So even though it was very good, it's just I don't think it was quite as good as those other two. So, but
Yeah, especially going into it. Whenever Joseph said that off the top, I was like I felt like I've definitely never heard of this movie before. And then whenever we were talking about what we are going to watch, none of you had ever seen it or heard of it. Really, I was like,
I'd have heard of it, but
yeah, I've always heard the title.
Yeah, but nobody ever watches this movie.
And then he said Citizen Kane lost. I'm like, everyone knows that movie. So how did that? I don't know. I got it. I went into it. I enjoyed, like you guys said, I really enjoyed actually the beginning of it with the voiceover. I thought we were getting to some like old classic, kind of like a Disney kind of vibe feeling. Like they're
some Fox and the Hound.
You got the dwarves singing, going to work, hi ho, and then
although I do know the song that they were singing at the beginning. It's the Men of Harlech. It's a war song.
Going to
Men
war
of
in the
Harlech.
caves.
Well, it's Men of Harlech, stand ye ready. Can you hear the rushing river? That one. But
that, of course, that one.
Yes, that
How
one.
could I have missed it?
Well, okay. The only reason I know it, and Jared would kind of knows this. It's from a movie called Zulu with Michael Caine, and they have weirdly enough, these English soldiers and the Zulu warriors have a sing off. And so it's way better than you think, Michael. But they sing "Men of Harlech," and that's how I know it.
Is this like your step up whenever you were growing up?
Yes, pretty much. Except for lots and lots of violence. But
there's lots of violence in Step Up.
Yeah,
there you go.
Don't knock the violence.
They got gang fights going on. They got to break their feuds with dance.
From the streets.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, so but after the beginning, like Jared said, like the toffee stuff, all like kind of like. It almost made me feel nostalgic the way he was talking about it, but then I feel like the movie really went nowhere, and I got really bored during this movie. Like, like I said, the characters, most of them weren't interesting in the slightest to me. I feel like nothing really progressed or concluded. It was just kind of like a bunch of people saying, "Well, that's life. They died. We didn't get married. The end."
Hey, that's now with inflation, man. It's
But saying,
I mean,
maybe it's nostalgic, and maybe it's current events.
but yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the movie really didn't go too many places. And then whenever it introduced random things like the school, even like he's like, I'm going to go to school. We're going to fight the teacher. Blah, blah. I was like, oh, cool. So this kid's going to go get out of it, break out with his family and do something. Nah, I'm just going to go be a coal man. Like, what?
a cool
Why?
man.
Then what was the point? I got nothing from any of
Because
it.
he has to provide for his family in the
I would have been
mines.
very disappointed if I was the dad. I would say, heck
I would have been
no.
pissed.
He
Like,
did.
we
He
just
got
did all
drunk.
this for you.
Yeah.
He did.
But he
So-
let him. I would have been like, no, we'll take care of that.
He's got an older wife and a child. He can't go to school.
If I was the dad, I was like, we'll take care of her. All right, You go-
We'll
We
take care of your
got it.
wife.
Bring us back that lawyer money, man.
That's true.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. The kid could have done so much more for them with that, but yeah. So I feel
Oh,
like
that's true. He mentions that one family and how that guy went to go be a doctor and he sends
Yeah.
back like
dude's
10
banking.
pence a day or something like that.
10 pence a
Give me them paints. But yeah, so I feel like just from the kind of endearing beginning, it just kind of didn't go anywhere. Nothing really panned out. They had the union stuff that I don't feel like really concluded in any meaningful way. The preacher stuff didn't feel like it concluded in any meaningful way. And then the family, the dad died. It was like, that's it. And then the kid just sits there. And I also felt like the kid, so that last scene where they're walking, that's the dad and him walking as a memory, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's not even him. So I feel like he's telling us the story at the beginning when I feel like the voiceover would have been better kind of sprinkled throughout because I really enjoyed that beginning of him just kind of talking about the thing and have a better pace to it. And so I expected like a massive time to span throughout this movie and him to be grown up and be like, and here I am now and da da da, but it's just ended. I was like,
It's like
what
a year.
was the point of the intro? Like you're talking like we're gonna see where you are now, but you're just
Mhm.
sad with your dead dad, then you walk through a field. And that's the end of the movie. So I don't know. This movie wasn't for me for sure. I was bored to tears.
This is the working man's movie. This is like the Billy Joel of movies.
Yeah, I did like that line where he's like, people like my dad don't die, you know. They
Yeah,
just
that's
stay
good.
with you.
Good line
Yeah.
at the end.
Don't you mean the
Uh,
Bruce Springsteen of movies, sure?
No, I hate Bruce Springsteen. I don't want to be bored, Thomas.
Like Michael?
Yeah, I could see where Michael's coming from. Definitely with that part where he doesn't go to school. That made me mad, and I could feel for the dad. I would have been mad.
Wasted all this money on education. You don't do anything with it?
Joseph would have got the stick.
You're going back to. I'm gonna tell that
I would
teacher
have
to
thrown
beat
that
you
kid
again.
on a boat. Yeah, I would have thrown him on a boat and made him go. But my opinion is mostly like Jared's. The first hour was rough, but then once you get past that, I really enjoyed it. I like the characters. It's a good little drama. Like compare this to some of the other early dramas we saw in the 30s. I think you could tell it's way better. There was a good shot I liked. It was when all the miners are like up on that, like up by the mine, and they're on the stairs. I thought that was a cool little shot. It looked kind of like surreal of all these guys on the stairs.
Kind of when it exploding too. It's kind of crazy.
We did have a drama that spanned like a whole lifetime, and I was like, this is way too long back in the 30s.
Yeah,
And I was like, I liked how this was just a short little time.
Is that the French guy?
Ziegfeld or
what-
whatever.
the
Oh,
family, the one with the family.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, sorry.
I can't even remember the name of that.
I don't even
movie.
know. I don't even know the name, but yeah,
Yeah,
Uh,
that was something like that. I did.
the one about World War One. They're like, oh, maybe we'll never have to see conflict again.
Yeah,
Dun, dun, dun.
I did not like that movie, but
No, it was pretty boring.
So I think this is a step up from the dramas we've seen.
So, quick question: what did you guys think about the pacing? I know you guys didn't like the first hour, but I didn't feel the time, honestly.
It wasn't the pacing; it was just like Jared said, the singing was getting a little annoying.
Dude, after watching Rebel Moon, this flew by. I was like, the
It's
movie's
true.
over.
It's true.
Because I
That is
saw
true.
it, it was like 2 hours, and I was like, that did not feel like 2 hours. 'cause-
I'm the opposite. I paused it several times to get up and do stuff. I was like, I'm 40 minutes in the movie. I feel like I've been sitting here for an hour and a half at least. It's like,
Michael
how
goes back
am
to
I this?
Daiquiris to go.
I need something to help me finish this. It definitely dragged for me.
We'll
So you
say
got your raspberry, whatever it was.
what Jared was saying. I've been kind of craving one. Not gonna lie.
That movie was called Cavalcade.
Cavalcade.
Yeah,
Oh
Cavalcade.
yeah.
That's right. Is
Uh,
that the one with the blimp randomly?
yeah.
Those
It goes
bombarding
over the
London.
city.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I liked the characters. I liked the preacher. I thought he was a good, representation of a
That
guy.
dude had a square jaw. Like,
That
good
dude.
lord. Like, well, it was like, those that thing all over TikTok and Instagram right now, where it's like the guys with the strong jaw.
Oh,
and
the
they're-
chewy things.
Yeah, yeah. It's that guy. That guy is like the poster child for that product.
Have you seen those things? They're like, you want to get a buff jaw? They're like little rubber balls, and you chew
Oh
on
yeah,
them.
I've seen.
Oh, I've
those.
heard of them. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
it's
them.
so weird. And then
This
I think
guy, like,
they stole. I don't know if they stole a clip. I can't remember, but Andrew Huberman podcast. He's like a neuroscience guy or something. He does a lot of podcasts with a bunch of scientists, and they have like a clip of him in their ad. But I think he said that he didn't endorse it or something like that. I can't remember. Don't take my word for it. But I was like, "Ooh." So every time I see that, I'm like, I don't know what to believe. Did get big jaw or no big jaw? I don't know. I don't do it anyway.
Are
ask,
you gonna order
ask,
some?
ask the preacher. He'd know.
He would know.
Yeah, so I thought it was a good representation of both like a man of faith who, he's not perfect. He's still, struggles. And then with unions, how unions are kind of necessary evil. They work for the first year and then it's terrible. But
It's terrible for for now they're established and part of
Yeah.
the government. And guess what? They never go away. And,
yeah, you can't get rid of them. You need to. They're good
But we're
for a
getting-
year and then you got to get rid of them, man.
But now we're getting political. So let's do this.
Yeah, so I empathize with the dad a lot in this movie. So
I'm about to say that I think the dad was probably like the most like strong-willed of like the family. But I do like that he's, he is a man of faith, but he stands up for hypocrisy or
Yeah.
stands against hypocrisy when he sees it.
and it's like the old saying, behind a strong man, you have a strong woman, because she was
I love when he left and he's like, ooh, and she's like, you'll
Hell yeah.
scratch.
Let's have some more, son.
I know. Well, I was just like, no, you already have enough.
They all left. They need more.
I gotta repopulate.
They're gonna own the coal mine with all of the Morgans.
Morgan.
Guys, good lord, you're all Morgans. Take the bag.
Money. That was kind of brutal how they got laid off. It's like, here's your money and here's your pink slip.
Yeah, discharged.
Thanks a lot.
I like how, because at the same time, the Hugh gets money for the first time. He's like showing the dad,
Oh,
and they're like, "That's the last of ours."
That was a sad scene. I did like that contrast because like the dad's like really happy. He's like, oh, and he's proud of his son for working a day's wage or week's wage, I guess. But
Then he's got to see the other two off because they're gonna leave.
yep,
hopefully they all did good in America.
probably.
Never
Well, I
really
went to
hear.
like New Zealand.
Oh, did he?
I was gonna say the sister went to South Africa.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, he's really rich.
But it didn't make a happy marriage. All right. So 3 out of 4 stars for House 6.
Yeah, I'd give it that.
Michael was the
I'm the one that brings it down.
yeah, brought it down.
You're the problem with our Google rating, Michael. You always bring us down.
All right. So yeah, thanks for watching this time. We'll be back with 1940. What are we on to? Mrs. Miniver. It's another one I've never heard of.
I have never heard of
Never
that
heard of
one.
this.
Yeah. So
We're also entering World War II's best pictures, and it's kind of like there's a uptick in quality, and then of like mediocre, and then we're gonna get up again. So we'll see what happens.
So yeah, we'll check that out. Another one we haven't heard of. So, and unlike How Green Is Your Valley, I've never even heard of the title. So it'd be interesting to see. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast, throw us some likes, and notify yourself for even more good stuff to come. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Recording stopped.